Good evening, I'm Alex York, and welcome to our coverage of the 2016 United States presidential election. We are now seeing that it is going to be a Trump presidency. So I have with me here John Hopkins Hill and Ryan Thorpe, both with the Niagara News. So tell me today, John, what went so right for Trump?
Well, I think Donald Trump tapped into a voting base that many people didn't forecast being a real way to the White House in the United States. I think that he overwhelmingly drew out his base, which is fairly typical for a major party candidate, I suppose, but he seemed to really capture the spirit and the minds of a lot of undecided voters.
So what do you think went so right for Trump, Ryan?
I think a big thing was the emails. Comey's decision to come out 10 days or so before the election and reopen this investigation, it was incredibly unprecedented. It draws into questions whether or not he violated the Hatch Act. At that point, it was looking like a runaway for Clinton, but it really, I think, will be looked back upon as a turning point for the election.
So what do you think went so wrong for Clinton, John?
Well, I think this was more of a vote against the establishment than it was a vote for Trump. I think a lot of these people that voted were voting because they feel as though politicians have, by and large, forgotten about them and let them down. And so they wanted to vote for a real change. To sort of steal a phrase from Barack Obama, this was a vote for change.
Speaking of Obama, 6 former Obama states flipped to Republican. What do you think of that?
Well, again, I think it's just more of the same. I think it's voters who are frustrated with the way things are going, and I think perhaps they liked what Trump was selling and they were ready to buy.
Your thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, I think a big thing that we saw today was that we knew from the beginning that Trump's path to the White House, it was very narrow. He couldn't afford to lose too many of those key swing states. But what we didn't expect to see was that we had states that were traditionally leaning a bit more to the Democrats that he flipped to Republican, and that was a big turning point for today.
Now, John, you actually spoke to some Americans that had the pleasure of casting their ballots today. What were they saying?
Well, by and large, everyone I spoke to was fairly surprised with the way the presidential election turned out. That includes some Republicans, and I think it really speaks to, again, this notion of this sort of populist figure who's really sort of struck a chord with the American people. One Republican I spoke to in Florida said that he felt that there was a real shot for a Trump victory once he saw that Florida and North Carolina were very much battleground states, something that he perhaps wasn't expecting given recent results that had them as firmly Democrat states.
All right, and that brings to a close our video coverage of the 2016 election. For more, make sure you follow @Niagara College News on Twitter, and be sure to check out our print edition that goes out on the 11th. That is Friday, and we will also be publishing online at niagara-news.com. I'm Alex York with Niagara News, signing off.